All right, happy Monday to you. Thanks for joining our media briefing on this Monday. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start first with the fires. We are fortunate to be joined by Reno DiTullio. He's an assistant chief at CAL FIRE in our BEU unit, and he's going to give us an update on the status of the fire and what will be happening this week. Good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can y'all hear me?
We sure can.
Okay, great. We'll go ahead and start with a brief update on our two fires here locally. The first fire being the river fire. It started on August 16th at 3 o'clock in the morning. The cause was lightning. The location, the start of the fire was Pine Canyon off of River Road. Currently, the fire size is 4,088 acres. There's been 13 structures damaged, 30 destroyed. We still have several resources working on the fire. There were 4 injuries on this fire. The fire currently sits at 95% contained. The Carmel fire started August 18th at 3 p.m. The cause is undetermined. The Carmel, it started in the area of Carmel Valley Road and Kashawa Roads. The size is currently 6,905 acres. There were 7 structures damaged, 73 structures destroyed. We still have resources working on that fire. There were no injuries, and that fire stands at 97% contained. This morning, the incident management team, one that was in command of the fire, transitioned the fire back to the San Benito Monterey unit. So the San Benito Monterey unit is in command of the incidents. Crews will remain on tactical patrol throughout the week. We are reducing our footprint at our incident base at Toro Park to be commensurate with the resources that we have on hand. The estimated date of full containment will be September 6th. However, if we continue to progress, we anticipate an earlier full containment date. Fire suppression repair will continue. After the full containment date, it is ongoing at this time. Incident updates will transition to once per day at 1800 hours, and latest status on incidents, you can gather that information by following us on Twitter at CAL FIRE BEU and on the CAL FIRE BEU Facebook page at CAL FIRE BEU. It's a quick update on the 2 fires we have here in the unit.
Thank you very much, Reno, for sharing that with us. We also have Tracy Molfino on the line. He is our EOC Deputy Manager, and he's going to talk with us about the local assistance center that is up and running at the Monterey Conference Center to serve people who've been impacted by these fires. Hi, Tracy. Tracy, are you muted? Because I see you here. You know, we'll give Tracy a moment to we'll try to get a hold of him and see what's going on, and we'll go on to our next presenter, John Ramirez with the Environmental Health Bureau. I'm hoping that you're on the line. Well, then we're going to go to the pièce de résistance, the mayor of Carmel, Dave Potter, who's going to talk about beach closures this coming weekend. Thanks for joining us, Dave.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invite. So what we're hoping is that as far as beach closures go around the peninsula, there will be a unified effort to go ahead and have the same enforcement on all beaches. Carmel has it before the council tomorrow night to make sure that the council has its fingerprints on the decision to go ahead and close the beach, not just Chip Rurig, the city manager. I think it's important that the policy people actually go ahead and make the statement themselves. So it'll be before the council tomorrow night to take the appropriate action. If Carmel Beach were open and all the other beaches were closed, then it would be very inconsistent in the enforcement across the county. I'm very pleased that State Parks is also participating. My understanding is that Carmel Rivermouth Beach will be closed, which was both a dangerous beach, but also a very desirable beach for people to go to. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to in Carmel, close Carmel Beach, close Scenic Avenue and half of San Antonio, also the parking at the end of Ocean. That's pretty much what we're intending to do. And I know that the other jurisdictions are hoping to follow suit. So that's good.
Thanks. It's good to start getting the word out in ahead of Labor Day for all the local folks who might be thinking of hitting the beach. If you could stay on the line, if we've got some questions after our presenters, if you could both stay. We're pleased to be joined by Christy Mishi, who's our Assistant Director of Public Health, and Dr. Moreno's not available, but she is on the line today and could talk about some of the updated information related to COVID-19. Hi, Christy. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. So wanted to just give you a brief overview of where we stand here in Monterey County and some basic information about the new blueprint to a safer economy. As of this morning, we've had 7,980 cases of COVID-19 diagnosed among Monterey County residents. What we understand from the new framework is that counties are being assessed by two measures right now to move out of the purple category. Those are daily case rates. That is a 7-day daily average with a 7-day lag. And that's like 7 days from the time frame they're assessing. And the other is our test positivity rate, which is the percent of tests that are positive out of the total number of tests that were conducted. That also is a 7-day average. It's not a daily average, it's a 7-day average with a 7-day lag. So where we are right now for Monterey County is that last week, the state assessed our case rates for the 2 prior weeks of the assessment period. That was the week ending, the 2 weeks before the week ending on August 18th. And where we landed was that for the state's calculation, we had a case rate of 15.5. That was a daily case, average daily case rate. And then our percent positivity was 10.9. That placed us in the purple category. So what's going to happen over the next few weeks is that our measures, these measures will be assessed weekly by the California Department of Public Health. They'll be assessing, pulling the data on Mondays, and then assessing for the prior week. So the week that is being assessed today and tomorrow will be the week that ended on August 25th. So if our measures are below the threshold, that will give us 1 week, and it has to be both measures. If one is above and one is below, then we'll stay in the purple category. But if both measures are, it would be placing us in the next category, the red category, then we'll have 1 week of credit toward that. We must have 3 consecutive weeks in the next, with both measures in the next threshold area before we can move to that new threshold. So today the state will be pulling our data. We should have updated information tomorrow about whether we've remained in the purple category for that week that ended August 25th, or whether we have 1 credit moving us towards the red category. And that's the information I have today, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Christy, very much, and thank you for joining us. And please stand by for some questions. We're going to go back to Tracy Molfino, who's going to talk about our local assistance center. I think we've got our audio worked out with him. Hi, Tracy, are you on the line?
Thanks, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the Monterey County Office of Emergency Services opened the local assistance center yesterday at the Monterey Conference Center. The local assistance centers provide assistance to the fire victims, anybody impacted or suffering a loss from the fires, from the 3 fires in Monterey County after the declaration, both by the state and the federal governments, of a disaster. So we have 15 agencies or departments represented at the local assistance center, from FEMA to the Red Cross to the California Department of Insurance, California Vital Records, Franchise Tax Board, DMV, Social Services, the Office of Jimmy Panetta. But in addition to that, we also have departments from Monterey County, from the Assessor's Office to the District Attorney to various building departments, the Water Resource Agency, all with the purpose of providing assistance for recovery to fire victims, whether they've lost their residence, are having to relocate, or have some sort of other loss. This is the place where you would come and register with FEMA to start the application process to seek to replace a new driver's license or replace your driver's license, birth certificate, things lost in the fire, or get some advice and help on rebuilding that process with permits and the waiver of fees and all that. So it's open through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. there at the Monterey Conference Center, and there's free parking in the parking structure next door.
Thank you, Tracy, and for coming to us live from the Assistance Center and sharing this information. If you could stay on the call in case we have some questions, that would be great.
Sure.
And we've got John Ramirez on the call now with our Environmental Health Bureau. He's going to share a little bit about outreach on the face covering ordinance that's happening this week.
Thank you, Maya. Just to update everybody that, as you know, July 28th, the board passed the urgency ordinance to enforce guidance on wearing of face coverings. So I just want to clarify that when that ordinance passed, it became immediately effective thereafter. So our staff, during the course of the normal routine inspections or responses to complaints or any permit activity, were providing information to the public if they see them, or businesses or operations about wearing face masks. So we have been operating through enforcement by educating first off, as I mentioned before, and if repeat violations occurred, then we would issue the citation. We also contacted California Rural Legal Assistance, and they provided us some complaints based on what they've seen in the agricultural industry, and our staff are following up on those because it's an investigation. Again, we can't give out the names of those facilities, but anything that results in a citation will be public information, and we're gonna hopefully track it by the end of the month. Any of those instances where we did issue any violation or any citations. Tomorrow begins our efforts, widespread outreach, about 20 staff and 10 teams of 2 people each, one in English, one in Spanish, so that way they can spread the information equally through Castroville. And then when we complete Castroville, we're going to move on to Moss Landing and then Pajaro within the next week. After that's completed, we'll probably go down to the Salinas Valley. We're holding off on Carmel Valley, which was our planned second phase because of the fires and access in those areas. And then the last phase would be the Big Sur southern coastline area. We're also going to be conducting those inspections with ag facilities. We provided them email notifications. We mailed out notifications of all the documents to all our employee housing facilities, 75 labor contractors, Grower Shippers Association, and the Farm Bureau. That'll start in a couple of weeks also to make sure that they understand about the urgency ordinance requirements in the unincorporated area. So that's the update I have for you as of today.
Thank you, John, very much for joining us today. That's all the presenters that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and start with questions. And I've got questions that I think first would go to Christy. So I'm glad you've joined us. Does the health department have epidemiological evidence that visitors to Monterey County have spread COVID-19?
Okay, I'm gonna take a stab at that one. So the short answer to that is yes. So we do have, through our case interviews that we do, documentation or reports from some people who have COVID-19 who are Monterey County residents, that they have been exposed by visitors from other areas of California who returned home and were later diagnosed with COVID-19. I don't think that's the totality of what your question is answering, though. If you're asking about general visitors who may have been here that were not relatives, were not staying in somebody's home, I think that's a little bit more difficult to answer. And we don't have what I would consider clear data that would show that at this point.
Thank you very much. And then I have another question for you on the new color system. What is the specific impact in Monterey County of the new colored tier system?
So the tier system was designed to make the purple category roughly equivalent to what was called the old county data monitoring list. So the idea is that counties that were not changing out of their status would not have very many changes under the new tier system. There are two differences in the new tier system that I am aware of to highlight. One is that under the county data monitoring list, salons and barbershops had to be closed to indoor operations. Under the new tiered monitoring system, counties in the purple categories may open their hair salons and barber shops, providing that they follow the state's guidelines for being open, the industry sector guidance. So that's one difference. The second difference is in the category of retail. Before, our retail operations were open under just the general guidance of the state's industry guidance. Under the new purple system, the recommendation or the requirement is that they open with only a maximum of 25% capacity. At this time, there hasn't been additional guidance provided about clarifying what that 25% capacity is measured on. But we do ask that businesses do try to do their best to implement this new guidance under retail. So those are the differences that as I understand them, for us currently being in the purple tier for the new blueprint.
Thank you, Christy. And then I have another question for you. When was the last time the county fell below 7 new COVID-19 cases per 100,000 population for a single day, let alone 2 or 3 weeks? How about an 8% positivity rate?
Well, I can't give you the exact date for a daily case rate of 7 per 100,000, but you're right, it's been a while. It's probably, I would say, somewhere in early May or late April. But I would have to go back and check the data on that. And it's available on the website. I'm sure you guys are checking it right now as I speak. But in terms of positivity, we have bounced around a little bit more with that. And we have been close to 8% positivity, even relatively recently, looking at a seven day average. So that measure, I think will be, if I'm giving predictions, will be the one that we meet the quickest, is our percent positivity.
Thank you. And then another question for you. This would be a good time to explain why public health doesn't always give out a lot of information about people who've died from COVID-19. The question is there anything you can tell us about the 2 additional reported deaths today?
Well, I think what we usually share is whether they're adults or whether they're pediatric patients, and the individuals who passed away recently were both adults. One of them did have significant underlying medical conditions that did predispose them to having more severe disease. The other individual, we're still receiving reports on and don't have a lot of information at this time, so I would consider that one still to be what we would call under investigation.
All right, thank you. And then I have a question. This I think should go for John Ramirez. How many citations have you issued so far for the face covering ordinance?
Today, we have not issued citations because I just want to stress again that our efforts are trying to get compliance. There are many people and industries that may not be aware of the ordinance, so we're making sure that we cover as much of that information before we start issuing citations. Basically, to get rid of the response that they weren't aware, and understanding that typically law enforcement says ignorance of the law is no excuse. The area does have a large Hispanic population who may not get the information in Spanish or other resources. So we want to make sure that we provide that information before we start issuing citations.
Thank you, John. And then back to you, Christy. Are social gatherings or family get-togethers the primary way the virus is being spread in Monterey County, or is it workplace spread?
I think that's a question I can answer today. I'll have to take a look at our data and see if there's information in there to be able to quantify that, and have to get back with you. I'll respond, let Maya know what we see in our data.
All right. And then back to you, do Monterey County COVID statistics include those who've tested positive in custody at the jail, prisons, or other custody facilities?
So the data published on our website by Monterey County do include individuals who are in congregate living settings. That includes jails, prisons, dorms, skilled nursing facilities. The metrics that are being assessed by the California Department of Public Health do remove state and federal inmates from that are involved in outbreaks from those data.
All right, thank you. And over to John Ramirez. How many businesses are under investigation or facing allegations of not enforcing mask rules? Are there certain industries or fields that are receiving most of the complaints, or that you receive more complaints about?
So currently we have about 7 complaints regarding business operations. 2 of them are food facility related that we're conducting investigation on, and 5 are agricultural labor contractors. So we're following up on those investigations with staff, and that's what so if I had to say what area, it's predominantly agricultural related based on what we have right now.
All right, thank you. And then a question for CAL FIRE. When will CAL FIRE be moving out of the Toro Park location?
As I mentioned, we are in the process of reducing our footprint at our incident base at Toro Park. We will continue to be there. I would venture to guess through up to the weekend, the next few days, based on the number of resources that we have out on the fire. As we make progress on the fire and get closer to 100% containment, our number of resources will decrease, allowing the incident base to reduce in size. So I would say we're hoping to be out of there by the weekend.
All right, thank you. And then for John Ramirez, how many months would you expect it to take for people to hear about the face covering requirement? In other words, when could you finally move to enforcement rather than simply education?
So our plan is to outline real briefly is to this week hit Castroville, Moss Landing, Pajaro, and then go down to the Salinas Valley, and then if accessible, the areas around Monterey Peninsula that are county areas, and then Carmel Valley and down the Big Sur coastline. And concurrently, we're going to be contacting labor contractors, agricultural operations and farm sites throughout the unincorporated area. So plan is to get this completed with the teams that we have through September. So after September, we feel confident we've provided the message through the public, through information, through radio, through contact with us. So beginning October, through the month of October, any repeat visits or complaints are going to be handled through a citation process.
Thank you. And then I had a almost similar question from the Californian, from Joe. I'm hoping that what John just said answered your question as well in terms of end of September or October for issuing citations. That's all the questions that I have in chat for our presenters. Are there any other questions that people would like to ask? Not hearing anything, not seeing anything. Thanks very much to all of the presenters who joined us today. Great information, a great briefing. Our next briefing will be Friday, and we'll see you then.